Located approximately 26 kilometers west of Jamaica's capital and situated along the Rio Cobre River, is the oldest continuously occupied city in the Western Hemisphere. This city is known as Spanish Town and is Jamaica's national treasure architecturally. In 1509, 5 years after being marooned for 347 days on the northeastern town of Sevilla la Nueva, Christopher Columbus bequeathed Jamaica to his heirs. Surprisingly, it had taken the Spanish colonists some 30 years after settling in or near the Sentence Bay to realize that they had chosen a swamp to build a town on. So after 30 years of living in a swampy area, they began looking south to a wide, fertile plain, which they named Villa de la Vega, or Town of the Plain, better known as Spanish Town today. Spanish Town was founded in 1534 and later became the capital in 1538, having been a Taino settlement from close to 500 AD and subsequently the seat of both Spanish and British colonial governments for some 333 years. As I said earlier, Spanish Town is the oldest continuously occupied city in the Western Hemisphere, and the history of Spanish Town is largely the history of early Jamaica. In general, Spanish Jamaica was not just poor. It was badly governed, with its economy only based on cow hides and lard. Spanish Town never prospered and was seen as more of a burden than benefit to Spain. Indeed, Spanish governors were rarely present on the island, and many of the settlers became discouraged and soon abandoned the island, frustrated that they had no luck finding the gold they so desired. Spanish Town, however, was a good choice for a capital. For the first time since arriving in Jamaica, the Spanish had chosen a site with good land for farming. The town's proximity to the Rio Cobre was considered important in terms of health, and its closeness to a major waterway, the Kingston Harbour, was important in terms of safety. Also, with the town located inland, it served as added security against possible marauding invaders, something that had been a significant problem in the late 16th and early 17th centuries, when other nations sought to weaken Spanish dominance in the region. Back then, Jamaica's main use was as a supply depot in the conquest of Mexico and lands to its south. Jamaica's immense agricultural resources and strategic value were unrecognized. The island was left virtually defenseless, its coasts unprotected, making the island a prime target for attacks. Oliver Cromwell, the English Lord Protector, was acutely aware of this fact. Unlike the Spanish, Cromwell saw the strategic and political value of the Caribbean islands, and particularly the island of Jamaica. He saw the importance of Jamaica's location and the near distance to both Central and South America as a dagger pointed at Spain's soft underbelly. Captured. On the morning of May 10, 1655, two Spanish fishermen said to be out searching for turtles off the coast of Port Morant looked up in shock. A fleet of 38 ships with large cannons were moving fast towards them. The ruthless British had arrived. Turtles forgotten, the fishermen began spreading the word about what they had seen, and messengers set off to warn the settlers at Villa de la Vega. It has been estimated that close to 9,000 men disembarked from those 38 ships. That was some 3,000 more than the actual population of the island at the time. Within days, the capital city fell to the invaders. When the British realized that many Spaniards had fled to Cuba taking their valuables with them, the British burned many buildings in anger. Though much of Spanish Town was later rebuilt, Port Royal became the unofficial capital. With the pirates' base located at Port Royal, the island enjoyed protection from invaders until the devastating earthquake of 1692. Under the British. From the 1500s to early 1600s, Spanish Town was the only town with a settlement in Jamaica, and it continued as the capital under the British until 1872, when the new city of Kingston assumed that honor. In 1670, after years of war with Spain, Jamaica was officially handed over to Britain under the Treaty of Madrid. Today, there are still remains of Jamaica's Spanish past. The chessboard plan the Spanish adopted in 1534 still largely influences the layout of the town today. The original Spanish Plaza was located near the Anglican Cathedral. Slightly to the north, where the ruins of old King's House stands, were once a Spanish governor's house. Under the British, the town square was rebuilt in the mid-1700s, following a grid-like plan by John Pitcairn, and was replete with Georgian architecture. It is now considered one of the world's finest Georgian squares, and for some 180 years, Spanish Town Square was the home of the British colonial seat of government, the parish council and House of Assembly, the island's archives, the Supreme Court, and the residence of many colonial governors. Built in the mid-1700s and burnt in a fire in 1925, the colonnade, portico and facade of King's House are all that remain. In 1838, the proclamation of the abolition of slavery was read from the steps of King's House. King's House is also linked with a number of secret underground passages that many now say existed for drainage purposes. One story holds that a passage connected King's House with the Assembly, another connected it with the river. 18th century Spanish Town. In the 18th century, Spanish Town was a hub of activity. The following are some of the notable events that took place in the town. In 1720, the pirate Calico Jack Rackham, who counted the notorious female pirates Anne Bonny and Mary Read among his crew, was tried and convicted in Spanish Town. In 1773, Louis Hutchinson, the Mad Master of Edinburgh Castle, said to have tortured and killed the visitors to his castle, was hung in Spanish Town, and Louis Hutchinson was the first white man to be hanged in Jamaica. You can check out that video on the channel. The links will be in the description down below. In 1725, the Maroon Treaty, recognizing the Maroons as the first autonomous people of the African heritage in the New World, was signed. In 1780, a group of armed Maroons marched with the mutilated head of the bandit Three Finger Jack to claim a 300 reward. Still not sure if them will get it. In 1865, Paul Bogle marched in vain to meet with then Governor Eyre to explain the plight of the peasants, who later went on to riot under his leadership in what became known as the Morant Bay Rebellion. Spanish Town was also the place of entertainment, with numerous balls and concerts. This is also the place where newly appointed governors were feted in style and was in turn required to repay the colonial gentry by holding an open house during the sitting of the Assembly. The pirate turned governor, Henry Morgan, complained that this practice cost him some £1,000 sterling. Spanish Town back then was a place of importance and was held in high esteem, with distinguished visitors to the island being brought there. Among them, Horatio Nelson, Captain Bligh, better known for surviving a mutiny by his crew and for introducing the breadfruit and other plants to Jamaica, have been feted in Spanish Town. Admiral Rodney, for whom a statue stands on the north side of Spanish Town Square, was also a distinguished visitor. His memorial, designed by the famous English sculptor John Bacon in 1801, commemorates Rodney's victory over a French fleet that had attempted to invade the island in 1782. Rodney is depicted as a Roman emperor. Heraldic symbols on the pediment tells the story of the battle. The cannons on either side was taken from the French flagship. A tavern dating back to the Spanish era is said to have been where mules and horses were tethered for the Spanish governor, but was demolished to make way for the statue. Architecturally, Spanish Town remains a national treasure. Near the town's entrance stands the oldest iron bridge of its kind in the Western Hemisphere. Cast in England, it was erected in 1801 at a cost of £4,000 sterling. On the eastern side of the square, where the Assembly used to be, are the offices of the St. Catherine Parish Council. The original House of Assembly was built in 1762. On the south side of the square stands the remains of the burnt-out former courthouse that was burnt in 1819, and it was totally destroyed again by fire in 1986. It is believed that on this site, the Spanish Church of the White Cross once stood. The story goes that there were underground passages connecting the monastery on nearby Monk Street to the church. Also nearby on Barrack Street were the remains of the military barracks erected in 1791 to house both soldiers and officers. A large underground passage has been discovered there, although its origin and purpose remains elusive. East of the square, on Red Church Street, stands the Anglican Cathedral on the site of the Spanish Chapel of the Red Cross. It was destroyed by Cromwell's soldiers. The first Anglican church building was destroyed by hurricane in 1712, but was rebuilt in 1714. In 1843, it was named the Cathedral of the Jamaican Diocese of the Anglican Church. This building is a mixture of different architectural styles, including the medieval era. The cathedral is shaped like a cross and includes a number of monuments by John Bacon. Its floor is graced with marble and headstone memorials to prominent British colonists, dating back to the 1700s. Its majestic tower stands as dignified today as it was in 1817. It is one of the few steeples to be found in the Caribbean. Next to the cathedral, now known as the St. Catherine Parish Church, is the St. Catherine District Prison. The history of this once proud town lives on in the remnants of its old buildings of days gone. Its street names are a microcosm of the island's overall history. Reminders of Spanish Jamaica includes Red Church Street and White Church Streets. Symbols of the Spanish Chapel of the Red and White Cross, as well as Monk Street, are a reference of the monastery that once stood nearby. Nugent Street and Manchester Street were named for British colonial governors. King Street was so named because it runs past King's House, and the Constitution Street references to the island's former administrative center. If you found this video interesting or informative, please let me know in the comment section down below. Give me a feedback, and remember, I always accept a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.